Yeah, Brad, it sounds just like that. And you know what? I'm going to add to it because, as you know, Johansson, I'm already in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the tallest sportscaster. But I don't want to be in for that anymore. I want to be in for this event. And that Geno Atkins is back to form. He was not the same Geno Atkins. Look who we have here. Wallace Gilberry. How you doing, bud?
What's up, buddy? Sorry I'm late, man. I apologize for that. How are you?
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Isn't that amazing to see those All-Stars acting like little kids in the presence of the other All-Stars? So, Cammie and Rob, I'll close by asking each one of you this. If you could get an autograph from one of these All-Stars or any of the baseball dignitaries who will be here tonight, who would it be?
But we'll start on the diamond with Brandon Phillips, who's not talking much but saying a lot when he does.
Yeah, Brad, here at the Young Center, we've already had plenty of madness. We had a 3-seed lose, Iowa State. We had a 6-seed lose, SMU, and they lost on the same floor by the same score, 60-59. Who knows what could happen tonight when the night session tips at 7:15.
But did you watch that game last night? Ooh,
I know.
If you're the Bengals.
I'm hopeful.
Right?
Yeah.
Bring it on. Bring it on. The Bengals told us they'd be watching Monday Night Football to get a glimpse of their next opponent, the Pats.
All right, so as we move on here, we've got a man who spent his whole life trying to get to a Final Four. Now he's going to his second in as many years. Where do you put Coach Ryan of Wisconsin? Hey, Cammie, how you doing? Gates just opened, by the way, so fans filing in for the Home Run Derby. You know, here on the Crosley Terrace, there is a sign inviting fans to visit the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. As you know, the Reds have a long and illustrious history, longest in the big leagues. Nothing like preparing for 37-0 with a good game of horse. NCAA tournament begins tonight for Miami.
The Bengals did not have any of the playoff scenarios break their way last weekend, but today was a much different story. Andy Dalton was on his game, and the Bengals dismantled the Vikings en route to their 10th win of the season today. You knew it would be the Bengals' day when you saw this. The monkey strapped to the dog, and boy, it was all downhill from the Vikings from there. First quarter, they're driving, but Matt Castle is stripped by Vinny Ray, and Carlos Dunlap scoops it up and takes off. 41 yards later, he's got it down inside the 5. 2 plays later, Ben Jarvis Reed Ellis would score to make it 7-0. 7-7 game. Andy Dalton sharp all day. Big time delivery here. Drops it in the bucket for A.J. Green. Career high 28 touchdown pass of the season for Andy. It's 14-7. Then the defense does it again on 3rd and short. Castle picked by Vinny Ray, and here we go. 25 yards untouched for the touchdown. 21-7. Bengals starting to pull away. Now the interception of the season. George Iloka doesn't have one yet this season. So you might as well get it this way. Deflection off the face mask of Dre Kirkpatrick. This is pass interference big time, by the way. It wasn't called. Iloka's on the ground, and the fortuitous bounce right into his hands. 3rd quarter now. Bengals on the doorstep. Andy goes back shoulder fade for A.J. Andy's 4th touchdown of the game and 31st of the season. 2nd of the day for Green. 42-14. Bengals wax the Vikings, making it a perfect 7-0 at Paul Brown Stadium. Cyclones home ice against Evansville. First period, Josh McFadden the shot. The kick save rebound to Jack Combs. Gets through the 5-hole for a 1-0 Clones lead. Later in the first, point blank stuff here for Evansville. Luke Briner ties it at 1. Second period, Jared Lucan down the wing, slides a nice pass to Joe Zarbo. 2-1 Evansville. Duke and Gonzaga for that final spot. First half, Zags on the move. Kevin Pangos too strong. But Sabonis is there. Arvidas' kid for the tip to make it a 1-point game. Second half, Duke up 3. Jaleel Okafor, tough shot. Nothing helps a title run more than Tony Romo's presence. High fives and fist bumps as Lakota Ridge celebrates the end of another season. 12-year-old Carlos A.J. Boyer made it all look so easy, but it wasn't. It was a real struggle to get to this night.
If I drive out, that might be just enough for him to take that chance to go down and be with the boys.
But at first, A.J. didn't want to do that. Didn't want to be the manager of the football team. It wasn't part of his usual routine, and routine is really important to someone who has speech apraxia and sensory integration dysfunction. He's developmentally delayed, academically and socially functioning on a 2nd grade level, but living in a 7th grade world. Barely able to see the road from all the tears, the woman who adopted him when he was just an infant in Guatemala made the decision to drive away. So it was the hardest 5 minutes probably of your life, but the best as it turns out.
You know, but I didn't know it when he was crying.
Admittedly, she drove back once or twice, without his knowledge, of course, just to make sure he was doing okay. What she saw blew her mind, only because those 5 minutes were such a mystery.
All you really want is for your child to fit in and to have friends and to be a friend.
AJ's season isn't possible without these guys. Tate Fishman and Bane Allen, just a couple of receivers on the Ridge team who have hearts as soft as their pass-catching hands.
Bang Tate, they were wearing my best friends, and
We always sit at lunch together.
There's not really a challenge. Like kind of off what Tate said, you just treat him like normal and he is normal.
It was that type of thinking that changed AJ's season, changed his life.
He literally every single day busts his butt in practice, getting things for us, hustling around. And so we thought it'd be a great experience to let him participate as far as getting inside a game, score a touchdown.
NASCAR, Flipper, Buckeye, Power, Blood.
That was the play call, but the play wasn't the problem. Remember, AJ has extreme sensory issues, so much so that he won't even wear T-shirts with a team logo or stitching. Strapping on pads and a helmet would be a big problem.
It took the work of all of these players cheerleading him and supporting him.
Here's the result of all of that support.
Go AJ, go! Run AJ, go! Go AJ! All the way, baby!
He was juking guys out left and right, no one could catch him.
And no one who is anywhere near that field will ever forget him. It's every father's dream come true.
I won't cry here, but I did then at the game. It was, everybody wants to see their kid do well and achieve. And, to me, part of it was seeing AJ do it and seeing him enjoy it, but part of it was seeing the other, everybody that came together to make this happen.
Matthew Abshire has coached many teams over the years. His 2014 squad will hold a special place.
This team did something that you don't see everywhere. You don't see that compassion.
And there's something else Rhonda Boyer didn't see coming either.
And seeing the boys were just as excited about it as we were. I never thought that I'd see the day that my child would do something that looked normal.
I wouldn't have been coaching today if it hadn't been for my dad. He was a football official and really involved in all kinds of sports as I was a young kid growing up.
My dad's always been my best friend. He was from the time I was a really young kid.
Was at every game. He was that type of father, found a way to get his work done and get to the ballpark and see us play.
Whether he was playing in a rec softball game and I was sort of tagging along, or he was my, say, soccer coach, he always had that huge influence on my life in sports.
Outwork everybody that I could outwork all the time and everything I did. And I had to be twice as good. And that's what he believed in. That's what he taught me.
As we celebrate Dad this weekend, it's obvious the coaches here in town will be doing the same. They all came from very different backgrounds, but their fathers had very similar impacts on their lives.
The biggest thing he imparted on me was you can't coach for wins and losses.
I spent a lot of time around him, around military people, learned a lot about discipline, about organization, about family.
He didn't like what he did for 30 years, basically, in the steel mill. The only thing he liked about it was the camaraderie. I love what I do every day. That's what he pushed me to do.
Coach Cronin's road to the bench was a little more clear than the others. His dad was a coach. Brian Price's dad was never really into baseball. Then Brian came along.
When he bought me my first glove, I think he bought his first glove as well. He played catch with me until he couldn't catch the hard ones,
But now every Father's Day is hard for Price, who lost his dad years ago. Same for Coach Tuberville. And this will be the first Father's Day without Marvin Lewis Sr., who passed away earlier this year. The blow no doubt softened by a son who's now a member of the Bengals staff.
But I'm flattered that he would choose to follow in my steps.
All of them fathers themselves now, celebrating the day from both perspectives.
She counterbalances my life of intensity and production and, wins and losses.
I just want to be that same type of influence in their life that my dad was in mine.
I really care so much more about another person than you do about yourself is really probably what defines the most parents out there.
It's the definition of being a father. These guys would know. Happy Father's Day to all of the dads in the tri-state and beyond. Jeff Snell loves to run, but when he's struggling to complete those final few miles, he'll call on an inspirational quote, and it gives him that final kick.
I run because I can. When I get tired, I remember those who can't run.
Snell is in training to run 3 marathons in 3 states this spring. During every mile, his mind will be occupied with those who can't run. His hands will be busy too, pushing a stroller with his 3-year-old son Micah on board.
He'll sleep some, and then other times he encourages me along.
But encouragement doesn't always have to be in the form of clapping and cheering, and that's a good thing. Because Micah cannot clap. He can't cheer. Can't even ride in that stroller without his feeding tube. Dad doesn't have to remember those who can't run. He needs only to look down and see his child who can't. Jeff is running all these miles for Micah, who has cerebral palsy. And you better believe they will make it to that finish line.
if I'm ever having a bad day or it's mile 22 on the marathon, I mean, seriously, you know, he can't walk yet, he can't sit up, he can't talk. I mean, you know, get over myself and, you know, let's get focused on what's important here.
What's important now is their mission. The Snells have established Micah's Miles for any family dealing with CP, any family that's been shattered to its core.
It was very hard, as any parent can imagine, because you have dreams for what you think your kid's going to do in the world, and you just have to adjust those dreams.
Once we kind of got our head above water a little bit, it was a little bit easier to not focus on us, on Micah, on, you know, what's going to happen tomorrow. We could just kind of look and say, okay, how can we use this to help others?
By pounding the pavement, Jeff will run as long as he can, and for as long as Micah will encourage him to do so.
He's got this little light in him that shines, and whenever people are around him, they just love him, and so we know that he can change the world.
And until Micah does change it, he and Dad will just be content to run around it, doing so for those who can't.
What they would give to have this simple gift I take for granted, and I run harder for them. I know they would do the same for me.